All right, I'm back again. I thought I'd do a quick movie recommendation video this time in honor of October and Halloween. So I went through my shelves and picked out 10 horror movies, or let's say horror adjacent movies. Some of these are straight up horror, some of these are like borderline. But anyway, I picked 10 movies here that are movies worth highlighting, and these are not necessarily the most obscure deep cuts, but all of these are somewhat lesser known, I would say. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you will have heard about at least some of these, maybe even seen some of these, but if you aren't that into horror movies, like, you probably haven't even heard of these ever. Right, so let's start off with two movies that I just recently rewatched this week. Starting off with Session 9, which is a early 2000s horror movie. It's from, when was this released? Like 2001 maybe? Something like that. It doesn't really say that in the back cover. If it does, I couldn't see it. Yeah, this is early 2000s and takes place in a mental hospital or an asylum that has been closed down. The location is an actual asylum located in Boston, and the whole movie was filmed there on location as well. It's a very unnerving movie that mostly takes place during the day, which is something that I always appreciate when a horror movie or a horror game decides to go that route, because it's much more difficult to make an effective horror movie when you don't have like constant darkness and nighttime and so on. So there are asbestos cleaners who are hired to clean up this old abandoned asylum, and they spend a week there cleaning up the place and encounter all kinds of weird stuff. The actors in this one are fantastic. This has many recognizable faces. The most notable one is probably David Caruso, who is now known as the meme guy from CSI Miami with the sunglasses, right? But this was before that TV series, so he's a pretty new actor here. There's also another guy from the original CSI whose name I can't remember, and the main actor is a very prominent British actor. I can't remember his name either. I was hoping it would say it on the back cover, but I can't find his name here when I'm scanning this, which is unfortunate. No, it's yeah. Is it Stephen Kevedon? Maybe. I can't remember. No, it's Peter Mullan. Peter Mullan is the British actor. Yeah. And there's also the guy who wrote this movie is also one of the actors, Paul Guilfoyle. He wrote this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, directed by Brad Anderson, who also made some very interesting movies after this. Most notably, The Machinist with what is the name of the actor? Man, I'm blanking on the name of the actor. The guy who was Batman later on. Yeah, and he did Trans-Siberian and also some other really good movies. So yeah, Session 9, the first pick I got off my shelf. The second one that I rewatched just yesterday, no, 2 days ago, is Troll Hunter. Now, this one is a true hidden gem. The director of this, whose name is Øvredal, is it Andreas Øvredal or Andre Øvredal, something like that? Yeah, Andre Øvredal. He is a Norwegian director who is probably the best known for The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which was and is probably still on Netflix. It was there for years and years and years. Lots of people saw that movie because it was in all of these streaming services. And he also did the scary stories to tell in a dark adaptation. Not a huge fan of that movie, but I'm not part of the target audience. It's aimed at a much younger audience. But this is the one that he did before those. And this is one of my favorite found footage style horror movies ever. So it takes place in Norway. The scenery is absolutely gorgeous. Like it's in a Norwegian mountainside. It was filmed in scene order. They were driving around the Norwegian mountain areas and the forests, and they filmed everything in order. So you get this sense of a journey through the Norwegian countryside. And there's this guy who is a hunter, and it turns out that he's a troll hunter. And these university students follow him around, filming everything he does. And yeah, there are trolls in the woods, and this guy works for the government. That's not really a spoiler. I don't want to spoil anything about these movies. Everything I say about the plots are like immediately obvious from the start of the movies. But yeah, this is an exceptionally well-made found footage horror movie. Really small budget, like 3 million. And the CGI is fantastic. All the trolls are CGI, computer generated, and they look great. It fits really well. I mean, it's like it's filmed with these low quality camcorders, so the CGI fits really well together with that style, and definitely a movie that should be watched by more people. Troll Hunter. Next up, a more recent one. When was this released? 2020. This is VFW. Directed by the same person who did Bliss. I wasn't a huge fan of Bliss, but this is a throwback, right? As you can tell from the cover, the names, you have Stephen Lang here, you have William Sadler, you have the legendary Fred Williamson. So this is a throwback to 80s horror movies and 80s action movies. This is like a combination of both. A movie in which a group of war veterans are holed up in this bar, and for one reason or another they get attacked and they have to defend themselves. So it's your typical like house invasion movie, where one group of people is holed up in this house and the other group of people are trying to attack them. And yeah, it's fantastic. All the actors are great. If you like 80s horror movies, you can't go wrong with VFW. Great special effects as well. Really good actors. The actors are the main attraction here, because you have all these legendary faces from 80s horror movies, and also more recent horror movies like Stephen Lang. He's probably best known for Don't Breathe now, and Avatar, obviously. But yeah. Another more recent movie, this is from 2015, which is Bone Tomahawk, starring Kurt Russell, the legendary actor. This movie was quite popular when it came out, but I don't know how many people actually saw it. It got really good reviews, and it is truly fantastic. I would say that this is one of the best movies on this list, just in terms of overall quality. It's a Western/horror movie where these people led by Kurt Russell are trying to hunt down a group of cannibal indigenous tribesmen who kidnapped some of the people from their hometown. So most of the movie is Kurt Russell and his group of friends trying to track down the tribe who were kidnapping people from their hometown. And then at the end, there is this ridiculously gruesome section where you find out who the tribesmen actually are and what they are actually doing with the people they kidnap. And it's really gory. It's really, really gory and gruesome. And deliciously so, if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely a high recommendation for Bone Tomahawk. Next up, a classic director with a lesser known movie. So this is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, which I would say is probably the most underrated movie in his filmography. People have seen Halloween, they know The Fog, they know many of his other movies, They Live, and so on. Obviously, The Thing as well, which is one of the greatest 80s horror movies, bar none. But this one from 1987, this is criminally underrated. Takes place in a church and goes into some really, really gory places, as you can tell from the back cover already. Now, this is a movie that I don't want to spoil anything about because you have to watch it to believe it. But yeah, there are these university students who go to this old church to work on a university project with their like professors, and what they find in the church in the basement is something else. And the final, let's say 15 minutes or so, are insane. This movie is really like it's a perfect 1980s horror movie. I have no idea why this is so lowly rated. If you look at IMDb or Letterboxd or even like Rotten Tomatoes, like this is a really low scoring movie for some reason. I have no idea why. It also has a group of homeless people led by Alice Cooper. So Alice Cooper is the rock musician, is one of the actors here. He just happened to stumble upon the filming of this movie and was asked if he wanted to join, and he did. So cool. Alice Cooper's in the movie. Back to the 2010s, an underrated movie from 2016. This is The Void, which is a Lovecraftian horror movie, as you can tell from the tentacles. Takes place in a hospital, and that's everything I want to say about it. One of the great things about this movie is that you can immediately tell that it was made by people who love horror movies. Many modern horror movies are missing this quality, and you can immediately tell it when the people are just trying to do a quick cash grab. Something like Cocaine Bear. I thought Cocaine Bear was just garbage, and you can tell immediately from that movie that people don't even care about horror movies. But this one is made by people who actually care about horror movies. Lots of practical special effects, lots of twists and turns in the storyline, great visuals. The Void is absolutely worth watching. Next up, a 1970s horror movie. This is pretty well known. This is Messiah of Evil, a horror movie that I completely missed out on. I only found out about this when Radiance Films announced that they were releasing this special edition of it. So for me, this was a completely new experience, but I found this. The cases always fall down when I put them like vertically. It's so annoying. Anyway. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I was very impressed by this movie. It is definitely a 1970s horror movie. You can immediately tell by the visual style, by the colors, and the way it's filmed, and the set design and everything. It looks like a 1970s movie, a 1970s horror movie. Immediately recognizable, and it has this very dreamlike and at times psychedelic feel to it, and which is enhanced by the 1970s like colors, all the washed out yellows and greens and everything. It looks great, and it's also kind of like a zombie movie, but it also reminds me a lot of something like H.P. Lovecraft's The Innsmouth Horror with the fish people, the townsmen, the fish people. And it's a really strange one, but definitely worth watching. I would say that this and Session 9 are probably the two movies on this list that most people will find quite difficult to get through because they are so slow and just strange. They aren't like blockbuster material by any means, but very interesting to watch. Right. Then I have three more here. Next up, I thought I'd go with a real deep cut, just so that no one who's watching this video can say that, oh, I've seen all of these movies, what a boring list. This is The Color Out of Space, but this is not the American one with Nicolas Cage. This is Die Farbe. I have 2 copies of it here. This is a German indie folk horror movie, which is obviously an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space, a movie, short story that has been made into a movie multiple times now. And yeah, this is from 2015, I guess. Yeah. So this takes place in, I think, in Germany. Yeah, this takes place in the German countryside, and like Session 9, this mostly takes place during daytime. It's very unnerving and very strange. It has almost the same kind of feel as something like the original Wicker Man movie, where everything just feels strange and out of place. And yeah, it's also like Session 9 and Messiah of Evil, a very slow builder. But the payoff, I think, is fantastic in this one. Usually when you have a horror movie, there is a payoff at the end, lots of gore and action and violence and weird stuff happening, and that's definitely the case here as well. Not necessarily any of the violent stuff, really, but just weird psychedelic stuff happening. So yeah, if you want to watch a strange German indie horror movie, watch The Color Out of Space. Right, I have 2 more here, and these last 2 are Asian movies. I was trying to figure out if there was something Japanese that I could pick, but Japanese horror movies are for the most part either very well known or just not that interesting, really, unfortunately. That's just my opinion, but I decided to go with 1 Korean and 1 Hong Kong movie. So for the Korean movie, I picked this one, Midnight. This is again one of the more recent ones on this list. This is from 2021. And this is a serial killer movie where the main character is like deaf. It's a woman who is deaf and cannot hear anything. And she is trying to escape from this serial killer who is stalking her around the town, on the streets and in buildings and everything. So it's a stalker serial killer movie from Korea. And if you watched Korean horror movies, you know where this kind of stuff goes. It's quite gruesome and violent. The killer, who is Lee Ha-jun, the actor, he has a great face for horror movies. He's also in, as you can tell from the back cover, he's in Squid Game, but he's also in the movie Gonjam, Haunted Asylum. So he's in a bunch of these Korean modern horror movies. I thought Midnight was it was a positive surprise for me. I don't usually really watch that many Korean movies, and I'm often quite disappointed by them. But I thought Midnight was like a surprisingly well-made serial killer stalker movie. And then as a last pick, something that is going to amuse at least one person who's watching this, because I forced one of my friends to watch this with me. And this is a Hong Kong horror movie called Biozombie. And as you can tell from the cover, yeah, this is something quite unique. It is a zombie horror movie from Korea that takes place in a shopping mall. So it does have some George Romero, Dawn of the Dead feel to it. But this is more like a comedy horror movie than just a straight up zombie horror movie. And very strange, like in general. Let's just look at this cover, man. A zombie with a water tap in his head, dripping out blood. Yeah. And Well, this is a very character-driven comedy horror movie where you have this group of people who get stuck inside this shopping mall after closing time, and there is a zombie apocalypse going on. So they are stuck there in the mall with the zombies and trying to escape. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's an absolutely wild movie. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. I love it. It's great. So there's that. That's Biozombie. So that's 10 horror movie recommendations in honor of Halloween time. Let's put it like that on screen. So yeah, if you're interested in horror movies, check some of these out. And if you're not interested in horror movies, still do, because they're good. So yeah, I'll be back again with some other collection related videos or whatever I feel like doing next in a couple of days. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye.